Hello everyone, and welcome to the next edition of the Holland Land Office Museum's Artifact Video Series. My name is Ryan Duffy, and I'm the director of the museum, and this week we're going to take a trip back in time, back to around the turn of the 20th century here in Batavia, when life was maybe a little bit simpler and the ways that you entertained yourself were a lot different than we'd probably recognize today. So we're going to go back to a time when people spent more time outdoors, especially entertaining and enjoying the natural wonders around us. And specifically Tonawanda Creek. From the 1880s until about the 1920s, Tonawanda Creek was sort of the center of play for those in Batavia, and especially taking small boats and other craft down the creek from various points to go on picnics, to go see baseball games, or to go to other hangouts. And one boat in particular that sort of became the crown jewel of the Tonawanda Creek fleet was the Bluebird, which actually was the only licensed passenger craft ever to be here in Batavia on the Tonawanda Creek. It was a rather large boat for the waterway that it was on, and was able to steam around at a relatively good speed for the time. It had a short shelf life, as the automobile soon came to be the main mode of transportation and going out to various spots for entertainment. But for a few decades there, boating on the Tonawanda Creek was what every person wanted to do. So we're going to talk a little bit more about the history of the Bluebird and sort of boating on the Tonawanda Creek. Beginning around 1880 until the first few decades of the 20th century, boating along the Tonawanda Creek and its many recreation spots was the main form of entertainment in Batavia. Around 1900, Edward Follett of Pringle Avenue started operating motorboats above the municipal dam on the creek. He and his brother Joseph ran the first motorboats on the creek. They also bought Hodges Landing on Walnut Street as a launching spot for their boats. In 1904, they built the Cynthia, which was a 16-foot boat powered by a one-cylinder motor. This was followed by another similar boat 2 years later. In 1910, they launched the Bluebird after working on it for 6 months. It could seat 30 people and could take them all the way to Meadow Park and Whiskey Run, which were spots 2 miles up the creek. It measured 32 feet long and 8 feet wide. Its engine was a 30-horsepower 4-cylinder engine that was actually bought from a garage in Batavia, which allowed it to reach up to 12 miles per hour. In total, the boat cost $325 to build, with the wood being used of oak and cypress. It also had a canopy top and was painted blue, hence the name. It even had cushioned seats, and could also provide a full complement of life preservers, which allowed it to be the only licensed passenger boat to navigate Tonawanda Creek in Batavia. It launched on July 25th, 1910, and it would make round trips every hour to Meadow Park on Sundays, and charging 25 cents per trip. The brothers actually shared time driving the boat. Joseph drove it during the week for picnics and corn roasts when Edward was working at Johnson Harvester, and then Edward would drive it on Sundays. The Folletts also owned Meadow Park, which made the Bluebird even more of a necessity. The spot would host weekly baseball games and other activities during the summer, sometimes drawing 1,000 fans. They could bring in well over $50 a day from its passengers just in concessions. And the boat also won many of the Canoe Club sponsored regattas, as it could outpace anything else on the docks. They would race from Andrews Dock to Whiskey Run and back. However, by 1915, their business started to dwindle with the wider popularity of automobiles, and in 1918, they stopped the regular trips altogether. The Bluebird boat was then drawn up on the creek bank at Meadow Park, where it languished for another 4 years until 1922, and that year was the end of the boat, as it was swept down the creek in a spring flood and was presumably wrecked, but we don't really know what happened, and it was never heard from again. Well, I hope you enjoyed this edition of our Artifact video series and learned a little bit more about the Bluebird boat, as well as what people did around the turn of the 20th century in terms of having fun on the Tonawanda Creek, especially going for boat rides. So in case you've missed any of our previous videos, you can check them out on our YouTube channel, Holland Land Office Museum. We're approaching 100 now, so there's plenty of things to look at when you're going back through on our playlist. If you really do enjoy the material, be sure to give it a like and maybe even subscribe to the channel, as it helps it out a little bit and gets you notified quicker when we do release new things. But as always, the best way to come and learn more is to visit the museum for yourself, and we'll be happy to share even more information and more stories about what we've giving you a little sample here on our YouTube channel. So we hope that you continue to watch, and we'll see you next week.